A first look at the new technology Milwaukee police are using to increase accountability and transparency, how young people are gaining on-the-job skills and experience in law enforcement, and the results of a year's worth of planning to bring a marquee running event to Milwaukee. This is Council Rewind, and I'm Dustin Weiss. Milwaukee made its debut on the big-name running scene this fall with the inaugural Milwaukee Marathon and Running Festival. Later in the program, a post-mortem on the event that organizers hope will become ubiquitous with the Brew City. But first, one of the high-profile items in the mayor's proposed budget for 2016, the purchase of enough body-worn cameras to equip every beat cop in the city, is now underway. After testing and piloting different setups, the Milwaukee Police Department was called before the Public Safety Committee on November 12th to demonstrate how the technology will be deployed.
So I have my battery pack down here. It's connected via cord to the camera system. This is the camera itself. This is where all the video is stored. There's 8 gigabytes of data that can be stored on this, which equates to about 9.5 hours worth of video. So to activate the camera, like I said, I simply double tap the button. I don't know if you can hear that tone, but it was a double beep beep. Now I'm actually recording video. It's very similar to the in-car video system that the police officers use. There is a 30-second pre-buffer on it, so the 30 seconds worth of video only, prior to the time I activated the camera, is part of that record. So I'm going to turn it off. And again, that was 3 to 5 seconds. I hold this down, that shuts off the camera system. There's various mounting options that the officers have to choose from. There's basically 4, 3 of which are very common. The 4th not so much because we have limited mounts for them. The one I'm wearing right now is the collar mount. And what that is simply a metal band that fits behind the collar. Collar folds down on it. There are 2 magnets on it. There's one on each side. The camera actually mounts into this one here. I guess I can just show you here. It just magnetically connects to that mount. Another option they have is what we call the headband, and that simply fits behind the head. Just like that, and to mount the camera, I just simply move it up there, and now it is mounted via magnet to my head. The other option I have is a vest mount, and that simply just connects just like that. Can be ratcheted back and forth, and you can find what gives you the best view. The final mount is a Oakley sunglass mount. It's just a simple little mount that goes on the sunglasses. Camera attaches just like that. All the officers are going to be wearing it basically from the shoulder on up, so you may see some on the shoulder, you may see some on the head. We prefer the point of view mount, which is up on the head. I'll demonstrate a little video here next that'll show you kind of the advantages and cons to various camera systems that we use. We got an in-car video, and we have a body cam, which when I say body, I mean it's mounted to the chest. We're kind of shying away from these for a couple different reasons. Number one, if there's a use of force situation, the officers usually cover up the camera. So if I take a pistol position, just like this, if I had a body camera on, much of what's going on in front of me is covered. The video I'll show you demonstrates that. The other thing that we don't like about it is it doesn't have that point of view. So if I'm talking this way and something happens over to my right, the camera obviously is pointing this way, but the activity's over here. So if I have it mounted on the head, I now get a point of view shot what the officer's looking at versus what's in front of me.
Hey, you two. What's going on here? Come here. Yeah, I said come here. I want to talk to you. Come here, mister. What, are you going to arrest me? Yeah, stop. Don't move. Don't move. Get on your face. Get on your face now. Hands out. Oh, man. Turn your head the other way. You move, I'm going to hit you again with this thing. You understand me? All right. Okay.
Like I said, it's kind of a cheesy little video, but it demonstrates some of the limitations of the various camera systems. No animals or people were hurt in this video, by the way. But it shows, in-car video, you lost pretty much everything. The body camera, you saw the hands go up. Now we got basically forearm you're looking at. And with something mounted in the head, you had a little more view, although it didn't pick up exactly everything. So the camera is much like everything else an officer carries, the OC, the baton, the bulletproof vest, the firearm. Each one plays a role and kind of helps, the officer do their job. And that's the way these camera systems should be viewed.
And how many cameras are out there now? Is everybody equipped with one now?
We have 179 plus myself for a total of 180 actually out in the street. We'll be introducing additionals additional 300 or so in March, April timeframe.
And where are those 179 cameras?
They're a mix between Districts 2, 5, and the Neighborhood Task Force. Neighborhood Task Force
And
having
given the
most.
report we just received of District Number 7 having the most incidents of use of force, I don't see why they're not being there. Why was the decision to have those at District 2 Neighborhood Task Force? And
I can answer that, Inspector Mary Herrig. The decision was made, District 5 was our pilot, that's where we did our initial pilot, was in District Number 5.
But again, Number 7 had the most incidents for use of force, and the concern of the community and the members are what's happening out there. And if most of the use of forces are happening in District Number 7, I don't know why the pilot wasn't there and why the majority of the cameras aren't there. That's what I need.
Okay, so that was I'll try to break that down. The first question I thought was why we made the decision to deploy where we did. So 5 was a pilot program. Number 2, we wanted to divide it up on the north side and the south side. And then NTF does the most proactive work. They are in a position to do the most proactive work in this city. So that made sense. And they also have the most diverse workforce, meaning motorcycles, bicycles, fugitive apprehension, and so on and so forth. District Number 5 was selected for the pilot program because at that time, District 5, unlike District 7, as we're talking about today, which has actually had a decrease in their use of force, District 5 had been a district that had a lot of attention paid to it over the last 2 or 3 years as it relates to lots of different issues. They had several of our high-profile IA cases, but in addition to that, they also had some pretty high-profile criminal apprehension programs going on. But we will be getting District 7. Everybody will be getting a certain number of cameras, and then I think it's going to be around 50 to 75 cameras for each district is the goal right off the bat, and then start to fill in with the next wave. We have to get the officers to use the cameras. There's lots of phases and lots of reasons why we want the cameras. Accountability of the officers is definitely a big one. But there's also getting the officers to use them, getting that buy-in, making them understand that it's important to the community, but it's also important to the agency. If we give cameras just to officers who we think may be a problem, we're not going. You know better than anyone, we're not going to get the buy-in. So the idea is to not single out people who are problem officers and give them cameras, but the idea is that the cameras are good for everyone. And if that's the case, then we give them out in a way that is not punitive or in a way that officers can see the value of it.
So as we talked about, we have about 180 cameras on the street, Districts 2, 5, and NTF, Neighborhood Task Force. We started that on October 21st. We look to begin Phase 2, and as the inspector alluded to, we're trying to get this perfected. We know we're going to be changing policy. There's some changes I already want to make with the policy, but we want to get this right before we start getting this out to the masses, so we know we're doing it right.
To learn more about the Milwaukee Police policies for the use of body cameras, visit milwaukee.gov/FPC. It's the ages-old frustration of job applicants everywhere. Your ability to get a job depends on your having experience, and getting experience requires you to hold down a job. To help some Milwaukee residents overcome this hurdle, the mayor and the council have partnered with city departments on the Compete Milwaukee program, which places people in temporary jobs with the city and teaches them crucial skills. On October 12th, the Finance and Personnel Committee received an update on one of these opportunities, the Police Ambassadors Program.
Now, it wasn't me. I think it was Leslie, but if it wasn't her, it was certainly her shop came up with the word ambassador. Because what that summed up was this notion of it's a two-way street, okay? Having young folks in the organization, talking to my coppers who weren't in trouble or weren't wanting something, was a way to have easy conversations about the world that these young folks have to inhabit and deal with. By the same token, bringing them in and propelling them out into the world is somebody who actually, talking to friends, would know what they were talking about when it came to the police and what they do and what they're trying to do and so on and so forth. So those are all the parts of it, okay? Give them a public service opportunity, make them a part of something bigger than they are, develop relationships with people who would not only be references for them, but also perhaps role models, but also, if you will, instructors.
Working as a Milwaukee Police Department ambassador has been a great experience. I was initially assigned to the Communications Division, learning the ins and outs about telecommunicators and dispatchers. I was instructed on how to enter calls for service and observe how department members respond to various situations. The knowledge I gained from communications enabled me to develop my customer service skills and work more efficiently. I had the opportunity to work with District 3 at the front counter. District 3 has taught me how to work well with others and engage with various members of the community. Working in this program has given me confidence to expand my goals and achieve them.
For me, I feel that other individuals would benefit from this program because it not only gives them a chance to work with police officers and see how they do their jobs, but it also teaches many fundamental skills needed for their futures. And those skills include leadership, change management, conflict resolution, and good ethics. And so what I've learned from the program is in order to be a good leader, you have to be a good follower. And in other words, you have to be open, you have to learn from other people, learn what's good, learn what's bad, and also learn from your mistakes, because as a leader, there will be times where you make mistakes, but it's about using those mistakes as teachable moments and trying to improve yourself so that you become a better leader.
20 hours a week, these young people are out here, young people, diverse group of young men and women, came in to work with the police department in the climate that we live in today. It's very difficult. It's coming up on year 23 for me, and if we can get people like that, young people like that, to come in, work with us, listen, learn. When Michael first came in, he was quiet as a church mouse, very smart. Almost all of these young people, there's a story for them, every last one of them. Me and my partner, office assistant to Liz Ledesma, we got the opportunity 4 hours a week. We got to mentor all of them. We got to work with all of them. We centered on leadership, but before we did any of that, we asked them, what do you want to do? Everybody wants a job. Everybody wants job skills. Everyone wants something that's going to help them be successful. So we took all the hard work that Leslie Saletti and Bernadette Karanja did in giving us a framework, all the work that the chief and the mayor's vision, we took all that together. Our chief insists on leadership in police organizations, of which I have and I'm also an instructor in. I took all that, I went out and searched all these different leadership programs, and we started putting it together. Liz then went in with all the super teaching things as far as the etiquette and typing skills, all the things the chief mentioned. And I'm gonna stop right there because I could go on forever about the impact they've had on me, that they've had on our department. because of the work they put in. Liz?
This is a hard follow-up, I'll say, but I will tell you this has been a program of passion, I think, for everyone that has been involved. I know Sergeant Kelly and myself can certainly say that. This has been about embracing a group of young people, brought them into our homes, so to speak, identifying where the deficiencies are, and then taking them to the next level, not only socially and in work skill set, but primarily in leadership roles as well. And what we are seeing and what we've heard today are 2 young people, but I'm telling you there are 17 of them that have implemented the teachings that they have been given, fed, nurtured by great people within the department. This program is an outstanding opportunity to accomplish the 2 things that we want to do: partnership with community members, and then the mission of the Ambassador Program to develop leaders and to equip them to be great adults.
We've had 4 ambassadors actually get unsubsidized jobs, and they've gotten them in this manner. We have an ambassador who's gotten a job with Contemporary Services Corporation as an event planner. We've had one other ambassador get 2 jobs, actually, in security with American Securities and JBM Securities. We've then also had another ambassador get a part-time job with Walmart. She's still with us until she gets an unsubsidized job that is full-time. We have one other ambassador who got a job in the Milwaukee Sheriff's Department, another one who's gotten a job with Tri-City Bank as a teller. Actually, not 4, a lot more than that. And finally, just last week, we had one other ambassador get 2 jobs with Prudential Insurance and with Hemingway as a sales consultant and as a life insurance agent at the same time. So we are so, so proud of them.
And I just had a question about how was the 17 number chosen, and did you put it in the budget for 2016?
Great questions. Leslie Saletti, Milwaukee Area Workforce Investment Board. Our initial recruitment in 2015, or the end of 2014, beginning of 2015, went very quickly. We wanted to get the program up and going and have as much time in 2015 as possible. So what we did was we worked with the Milwaukee Police Department to utilize their existing police aid lists, those who applied for the program but didn't successfully get a position as a Milwaukee Police aide. So we had that recruitment list, and the Milwaukee Police Department started calling everybody on those lists to see if they might be interested in this new thing called the Milwaukee Police Ambassador. Also, we worked with Maywood Youth Services staff to go through all of our roles to see who was involved in Maywood programming that might be interested in the Milwaukee Police Ambassador position. We went through all those lists, and we ended up doing outreach to about 55 people. About 50-some people went to information sessions. 40-some filled out applications. Then they went through a rigorous background check, which is required by the Milwaukee Police Department. And then we had about 20 persons participate in interviews, and we ended up with 17.
Okay.
Funded for 20 last year.
Okay. So what about next year?
It is in the budget next year for 12 positions.
But I'm just ecstatic at the way that the department kind of embraced this effort, because without that, then the experience would be nowhere near what you're presenting here today. Without that kind of embracing of the program, without the positive exposure that you've kind of developed for them, you know, the experience just wouldn't have been as meaningful, and it wouldn't have been as impactful. So I think that's, you know, an important component for other departments to kind of look at as we kind of move forward with this.
A lot of people might feel like the 17 of you are lucky that you got the opportunity to become ambassadors. I, for one, am not really a believer in luck. What people think of as luck is really when preparation meets opportunity. The 100% that was just discussed of those of you who have stayed and continue to take advantage of the program is greater than the adults did with the other part of the COMPETE program. So the fact that you saw the opportunity, took the opportunity, and have remained committed to it and are using it for your advantage for the future, whatever your future may hold, I think is deserving of kudos to you.
To learn more, visit milwaukee.gov/CompeteMilwaukee. Distance running doesn't typically involve hurdles, but the inaugural Milwaukee Marathon faced more than its share on the way to a November 1st starting gun this year. Working with city officials and community members, the Milwaukee Running Festival addressed concerns and modified its route to be more inclusive of the entire city for which it's named. The resulting event drew 4,000 participants and rave reviews, organizers told the Public Works Committee on November 11th. But like any first-year event, there are issues to work out.
Well, first of all, congratulations to all involved, to Chris and his team, and to the city and their team, the police department. This is something that was new. This is something that we have high hopes for. You know, I participated, this was my first time ever participating in any type of run other than line drills when we didn't do well in basketball practice. So it was a great experience. The Summerfest grounds, great place. I mean, it was wonderful. It was well received in my district. I probably got maybe 15 to 20 calls from people who were just so happy that it went through their neighborhood and how important it was and how much it meant to them to have their neighborhood showcased in the Sherman Park area with this run. The young people at Washington High School that participated were just enthusiastic about participating. So it was what I thought it could be, an event that could bring the city together. We are always known about being segregated and divisive, and I thought this was an event that could change that, and I think it took a step in that direction. So looking forward to next year. Some of the things that the chairman spoke of, I think are we really have to focus on, because I had people in my district who actually lived on Sherman Boulevard and didn't know the race was going past their house. So I don't know how that happened, but it did happen. But I'm quite sure in the future we'll make sure that that doesn't happen. I would say from a cost standpoint, you know, it's probably definitely worth our while to make sure that everybody who's directly impacted in a certain radius knows about it. And then it may also be important for us to give some alternative information to the people. In other words, like in my district, people didn't understand that once they got north of Burleigh, everything was fine. Once they got west or east of Sherman, you know, the city ran like it always ran. But they didn't know that because they're used to crossing Sherman, and then they were confused. They go to the next block and the next block, and he was like, well, where can I cross? So just little small details like that would help out the citizens a bit.
So the first year, we're still working through the numbers because it's just so new. Right now, it looks like we brought in about $450,000 in revenue, and the expenses will exceed that probably by, you know, roughly $50,000 to $100,000, which is what we had budgeted a loss that first year. Most of these events do lose money the first year, so it was not a surprise to us.
So your projected revenue for the event prior to you actually taking it on, was it less or more than $400,000?
It was less.
It was less.
Expenses were less, a little less too.
Mm-hmm.
The reason for the revenue shortfall was because we had budgeted on the low end of 6,000 registrants, and we had about 4,000.
4,000.
And there are reasons for that. I think the number one reason was Halloween weekend. We had a lot of people tell us that they did not participate because it was Halloween weekend, and that's only going to happen if we keep this date. It won't happen again.
Well, what about the date issue?
Well,
are we locked into November 1st forever, or are we looking at alternative dates?
I mean, for our tentative date for next year is the first Sunday of November, November 6th. Going forward after that, I would like to look at maybe getting earlier in the fall. It's just, for marketing purposes, there's another marathon that's in October. The marathon season really starts in late September. I mean, you can't go any earlier than that because of the heat issue. So if we went into October, I think we're going to have some problems with marketing just because of the confusion. After we get a few years under our belt, I think our options will be a lot better. So right now we're targeting November 6th for next year, Sunday, November 6th.
So, yeah, I want to go back to the money. So how do you plan on closing that revenue shortfall for next year?
Well, these are generally profitable events after you get a few years under your belt, and we plan to open registration next month for next year's event, so we'll have cash flow. Also, our title sponsor commitment, which is a pretty sizable sum, their payment for next year comes in January. So we'll have some money to work with to make everybody whole going forward. And if we meet we'd like to double next year to get to 8,000, which I don't foresee it being a huge issue. I mean, we probably would have had 6,000 this year had it not been Halloween weekend. And we get there. Races, the best marketing is word of mouth. When you get the buzz we've had, I already had a national group club contact me, and they want to have their annual meetup next year at our race, 800 people coming from all over the country. So things like that, I think we'll be at 8,000, and that will put us in a lot better financial position to do this.
Chris, it was a great event, and I, like Alderman Wade, was out at the opening ceremonies here and very much enjoyed it. And I think that we'll see continued success growing years forward. I think there are a number of really good ideas. One other alternative, Mr. Chairman, or one other thought, and that would be that either the city do this in conjunction with the organizer, because I think that we're going to want to look at it, but if you do send out that postcard notifying folks that you're on the route, that we actually have a page that has a link for alternate routes, and we can actually, that's provided on the postcard. Most, if not everyone now, is web savvy. And this way, somebody could actually go on a general city site, have a link, and then based on where they are on the route, you can kind of click on a little area. Maybe we have 4 or 5 alternatives based on certain segments. That way you can kind of see the close-up, and that way you can get a better view of what's going on in your neighborhood. And that's just one thought. I think the lot issue of maybe having an alternate lot for these bigger events is another great idea. I suspect that you are correct. As we become more accustomed to this, some of the initial growing pains will find ways and alternates around, and my belief is that we'll continue to see this grow and grow much more successfully. But it was a very good first start, I believe, and it was very exciting to be down there. And maybe we'll persuade Alderman Wade to join the run-in next year here. So.
They don't have any cream or sugar for the coffee. That's everybody's not running.
Right. Next year's Milwaukee Running Festival has been scheduled for November 5th and 6th. And that's a look back at some of the important issues discussed in recent Common Council business. For the City Channel and Council Rewind, I'm Dustin Weiss.